should I walk by again? This question was posed to me this past summer by a random stranger. I merely laughed it off. Like, you can really tell that quickly if you fell in love. Or can you? Love at first sight is defined as experiencing strange and strong, powerful feelings of love for someone within an hour of first meeting them. Dr. Earl Nauman, marketing expert with a PhD, wanted to learn more about this phenomenon. In 2001, he conducted a study of over 1,500 Americans of various ages, races, religions, and social backgrounds. He discovered that over 2/3 of Americans believed in love at first sight. Over half of those people actually claimed to experience it themselves, and half of those people went on to marry the person that they instantly fell in love with. At the time the study was conducted, 3/4 of those marriages were still alive and kicking, which is much higher than the national average of about only half of marriages that last, found by the Census Bureau in 2002. So according to Nauman's calculations, roughly 20% of people will fall in love based on the operation of visual stimulation. So what visual stimuli serve as a factor in love at first sight? Sheer good looks, or are there other aspects of the face at work? First, I will examine the process of visual stimulation and its correlation to love at first sight. Then I will explore 2 ways the face serves as a visual stimulus. So before we can explore the ways that the face serves as a visual stimulus, I will give a very brief, rough overview of the way the brain processes visual stimuli. What exactly is visual stimulus? It's an agent, action, or condition that elicits or accelerates physiological or psychological responses. So this image is first taken in by the eyes, and it then enters the brain system by traveling down the optic nerve, where it will then reach the thalamus, which serves as the brain's translator. These translations are then sent to the visual cortex, which, in very simple terms, is the wrinkly part of our brain responsible for rational thinking. These messages are then sent to the very center of the brain, called the amygdala, which is responsible for restoring emotional and deep memories. The messages then go to the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain that connects the nervous system to the endocrine system. This then directs the pituitary gland to release the appropriate hormones and neurochemicals. 3 such hormones and neurochemicals found to be released during love at first sight are oxytocin, vasopressin, and dopamine. Oxytocin, also called the hormone of love, is responsible for facilitating bonds and enhancing trust, accounting for claims of feeling an instant connection with an individual. This same hormone is also released during breastfeeding to create a stronger bond between a mother and its infant. Vasopressin is also a hormone that's released, responsible for increasing blood pressure, giving you the racing feeling of your heart, and creating a warm sensation all over your body. Thirdly, dopamine is also a neurochemical found to be released. One of the responsibilities of dopamine triggers feelings of satisfaction and desire. After Nauman conducted his survey, he published his findings in a book titled Love at First Sight, The Science and Stories Behind Instant Attraction. The tale of Lori and Don, a couple who met and instantly fell in love at a party, are one such story. Here we can see the effects of the neurochemicals, as Lori recounts the first time she met Don. Just being around him, my pulse quickened, and I felt flush. I was sensitive to his presence and the sound of his voice. It mesmerized me. I was completely in love, and it only took a few minutes. Lori and Don have now been married for over 45 years. So now that we know the chemistry behind instant chemistry of visual stimulation, let's explore 2 conditions of the face that serve as a visual stimulus in love at first sight. These conditions are found in an article titled Love at First Sight by Stephen Bertman, found in Mind Social Psychology. The first condition is called the theory of physiognomic homogeny, or simply speaking, facial resemblance between partners. As most people know, you can tell someone's facial expressions, someone's personality, by merely looking at their facial expressions and characteristics. In a study found in 2004 by Evolutionary Psychology, it showed that people seek mates who have similar personalities to themselves. Bertman said in his article, when people first meet, their faces are usually what they see first. Because of the multiple components of the face giving it its distinctiveness, our face is the one part of our body that, more than any other, expresses our personal identity. Therefore, if people are looking for a partner that's compatible based on their personality, then there's no wonder that you're going to be more drawn to a face that resembles your own, since a face is what conveys your personality. We can see this theory in action in the relationship between celebrity couple Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. the effortlessly calm, cool, and collected couple who reportedly fell in love at first sight on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, although Brad was currently married to Jennifer Aniston. By comparing their faces side by side, we can see that there's actually kind of a similar resemblance to them, from their jawline to their bone structure, to the shape of their eyes and nose to their lips. It's strange how similar they look. So perhaps a similar face is one visually stimulating factor in love at first sight. Bergman also found another type of facial resemblance responsible in eliciting feelings of love at first sight. People are also attracted to a face that resembles their parent of the opposite sex. This seemingly strange attraction can be explained by the theory of imprinting, which simply states that the first image an individual sees is imprinted into their brain, and therefore becomes the blueprint or model for all of their expectations. This mechanism was originally designed to make it easier for an offspring to identify and find its nurturing parent, but it has also had very strong effects in defining and determining its future mating preference. In a study done in 2002, entitled Parent Influence on Mating Choices, found in Evolutionary Psychology, it was found that people choose mates whose faces resemble their parent of the opposite sex, especially when it comes to eye or hair color. That same study also showed that daughters who rated their childhood relationships with their father extremely highly were much more likely to marry a husband whose face resembled their father. Again, we can examine the relationship between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Here's an image of Angelina's husband, and here's a picture of her father, John Voight. While the hat may account for some similarity between them, there's no denying there's a strange resemblance between these two men. So, as we've learned today, there's more than one factor of the face that serves as a visual stimulus. It's not just a pretty face that elicits love at first sight. Perhaps it's a face that resembles our own, or that of our parent of the opposite sex. So, if I ever catch a glimpse of someone's face, my heart begins to race, and I feel an instant connection with someone, I'll stop and wonder, does this person look like me?